The day Micah Benton played piano with one hand, the world finally opened its eyes. For 9 years, blindness had defined him, a quiet black boy from a tough neighborhood with a gift few ever noticed. That changed after a public rejection by Malcolm Royce, the once revered concert pianist turned TV judge, who had belittled Micah's talent during a televised audition. But in that moment of public shame, something fierce took root. Under the mentorship of Dr. Evelyn Sloan, a reclusive musical genius with a story of her own, Micah returned to confront the man who humiliated him. His fingers moved across the keys with the raw elegance that silenced even the harshest critics. This was no longer a child playing notes. This was music that broke past the barriers of sight, privilege, and expectation. At the Westbrook Community Center, the upright piano sat mostly untouched in the corner of the rec room, its faded keys and chipped veneer testifying to years of neglect. But that day, as the chatter of kids began to fade, a small boy tapped his white cane across the floor and made his way toward it. Micah, just 9 years old, reached the bench with steady hands and sat, his fingers hovering thoughtfully above the keys. Then, quietly, he began to play. It was Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. There was no sheet music, no instructor, just the boy and the piano. His rendition wasn't perfect, but it was hauntingly beautiful. Miss Delaney, the center's director, watched from across the room, stunned. "Where did he learn that?" she asked. "Not from anyone here," replied Jamal, the maintenance supervisor. "I've never even seen him touch it before." Later that evening, Micah and his cousin, Trayvon, walked home together through their neighborhood, a place where opportunity often came with strings or didn't come at all. Trayvon, 24 and built like a linebacker, kept a protective arm around his younger cousin. "You killed it today, little man," he said. "They're still talking about it." "I messed up the middle," Micah said quietly. "Only you noticed." "You're gifted, Micah. That's real." Their apartment was small but lovingly maintained by Micah's mother, Serena. After a long day working as a nurse's aide, she smiled as she watched her son eat dinner, asking about his day while ignoring the red stamped bills gathering on the counter. Micah, soft-spoken and brilliant, rarely mentioned his music. But that Sunday, when the pastor at New Grace Baptist asked him to perform during service, Serena was shocked. Micah hesitated, but when he sat at the church piano and began to play, the congregation was overcome. He improvised on a gospel standard, weaving in Chopin motifs with such natural grace that several worshipers wept. A woman in the back recorded the performance and uploaded the clip online. It received a few hundred views at first. Then a jazz teacher in New Orleans reposted it. A pianist in Detroit shared it. The numbers climbed. When the video passed 100,000 views, Trayvon ran through the door waving his phone. "Micah, you're going viral." The fame brought both opportunity and risk. Trayvon believed Micah should audition for SoundSphere, a nationally televised talent competition for young musicians. Serena was firmly against it. "They exploit kids like him," she said. "Turn them into stories, not people." But Trayvon, determined, forged her signature on the entry form and took Micah to the audition. At the studio, the contrast was jarring. Privileged kids in designer suits warmed up on Steinways. Micah, in a borrowed shirt and scuffed shoes, walked quietly to the stage. When asked what he would play, he replied simply, "I'll play what I feel." The judges, including Malcolm Royce, were skeptical. Micah began with Mozart but drifted seamlessly into Ray Charles and then into an original blues-infused improvisation that hushed the entire auditorium. 2 judges voted yes. Malcolm Royce leaned into his mic. "This is mimicry, not artistry," he said. "He's blind. That's all people see." Micah didn't cry. He simply stood, bowed, and left. But the clip of Royce's cruelty went viral overnight. Jay Reel, a cultural critic and blogger, posted a searing critique. When did cruelty toward a child become art critique? 3 days later, Micah received a handwritten note in the mail. The sender was Dr. Evelyn Sloan. "You have something," the note read. "If you want to understand it, come find me." Dr. Sloan lived 2 hours outside the city in an old mansion filled with sheet music and silence. A former prodigy herself, her career had crumbled after she lost vision in one eye, and the music world discarded her. But when she heard Micah play, she heard something she'd long thought lost. She took him on as a student, reluctantly at first. Their lessons were intense. Evelyn didn't care about pageantry. She taught him to feel the architecture of music, to build compositions from memory, from math, from emotion. Music, she said, is truth in sound, not tricks, not technique. Truth. Micah blossomed. He returned to Soundsphere as a wild card, chosen by overwhelming public vote. This time, he faced off against classically trained prodigies, including Royce's favorite student, Isaiah Whitfield, whose arrogance masked his fear. During rehearsals, equipment malfunctioned mysteriously. Rumors spread of sabotage. Evelyn remained unshaken. Play through the noise, she told him. In the semifinals, a planted piano bench gave way and Micah sprained his wrist. The producers recommended he withdraw. I can play with one hand, Micah insisted. Evelyn had trained him for this. He performed a one-handed piece so emotionally raw that the audience erupted in a standing ovation. Royce gave him a score of 3 out of 10. The backlash was immediate. More sabotage followed, along with accusations that Evelyn had written his compositions. Zara Lynn, another contestant and Royce's protege, broke away from his control and sided with Micah. He plays with heart, she told the press. When was the last time that mattered to anyone? In the final round, Micah and Zara were paired for a duet after Isaiah withdrew. They performed Resonance, a piece they co-wrote that blended classical rigor with soul and jazz improvisation. Before that, Micah played his original piece, Braille in the Sky, a meditation on how he experienced the world through sound and touch. When the final note faded, there was a silence deeper than applause. Then the theater erupted. Even Royce stood, offering a quiet nod. Micah 1.6 months later, he debuted at the Kennedy Center. At 10, he had already changed lives. Evelyn declined an offer to teach at Juilliard. My masterpiece, she said, pointing to Micah's picture, is already out there. Years passed. Micah traveled the world. He returned often to his roots, giving free concerts at community centers, raising funds for music education. Serena became his manager. Trayvon started a youth program in Atlanta. At 15, Micah sat alone at a piano after a concert. He played not for judges, not for audiences, but for himself. The music was unfamiliar, growing, evolving. It spoke of everything he'd learned, every pain endured, every light found in darkness. And it reminded the world that sometimes, those who see least can hear most. That the deepest music comes not from what we play, but from what we feel. Micah Benton didn't just win a contest. He changed the tune of what the world expected. And he did it by listening when no one else could hear.